You made a movie with David Ellison, Terminator movie. What do you think of him buying Paramount and trying to take over Warner Brothers?
I think he's the best possible choice. Absolutely.
Above Netflix, above Comcast.
Oh, Netflix would be a disaster.
You
Sorry,
think so?
Ted, but geez.
But now he's promising theaters if they buy Warner Brothers.
I know, but it's sucker bait.
I'm a watchman forever, vigilant, steady watching and listening, disciplined, militant, killing these dudes that started visiting. What's the latest word, yo, still we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, still we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. Let's go.
So we mentioned the three contenders for Warner Brothers, Universal, which is Comcast, Netflix, Paramount. You have any favorites? Are you seeing anything out there? Any chatter for any of these?
Yeah, no, for sure. I would say for me, Paramount is probably the strongest contender here. And I say that just because, not the strong. Here, I'll put it like this. I mean, they are clearly, I think, what I'm hearing, the strongest contender.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Netflix, like you said, recently just tried to, I guess, put another bid out there for it. But okay, there's a couple ways to look at this because I was really thinking about this since I knew we were going to discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Paramount is probably the strongest choice, simply because of what they have to offer, with what already they do have, the money backing that they have. I think they will take larger swings at what they can do with all the IP that Warner Brothers has, not just DC. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. Like, Warner Brothers has a very strong cachet of IPs, you know what I mean? Like, and people feel, I think some people fail to realize that, like, we're so focused on DC, and it's like, man, no, they got a lot.
They got their hand in a lot of stuff. Yeah,
they do. They really do. So that's why it's actually interesting to see the when you then look at Universal, who's really like, well, we just want this part. You know what I mean? Which even what they want is the smart part to have, right? It's not to say that it's not. Interestingly enough, for Netflix, what I like about the Netflix concept is that, but it would only, this is the only reason why I would like it. But if this isn't the mindset of Netflix, then don't bother. But if your purchase here is to finally have a foot in theater releases, then have at it. You know what I'm saying? Like if this is what you're trying to achieve here, like having a foothold in that finally, so you can actually now start putting whatever films you guys do also in theaters, and kind of now doing what everybody else is doing, where it's like, we're going to give it a theater run. Eventually it might go to streaming, whatever, things of that nature. If that's what you're trying to do, then power to you, because you guys really need it. Because right now you guys got a lot of films, or not a lot, but a good amount of films that should have been in the theater on a massive scale that never were. And, the biggest hype you'll get about it is what the streaming numbers were, But if that's not the mindset, then I don't even know what we're discussing here.
Because I think it's fair, like, back to the Paramount part, just so viewers understand, because I know you looked into this and some viewers kind of catch up with it, but Paramount wants to buy the entire Warner Bros. Discovery.
Yes,
they're saying, it would be nearly $70 billion would it be that they could easily pay. Because this is a lot of capital.
That's what David said, right? That's what he wants, $70 billion.
That's kind of like the loose number,
number that I just, okay.
Yeah, so Paramount can easily buy this. It's just a matter of Zaslav accepting and the board of Warner Bros. Accepting the terms, with Paramount, and as you said, correctly, that Paramount's considered the favorite, and we're going to find all this out, before Christmas here. They're going to make a decision either way with that. So that's why Paramount Now, because I'm not going to get into the. There's some political connotations that people try to throw into all this, and I'm not going to really entertain all that. I think Skydance, Paramount, they have a lot on their hands already, having to fix Star Trek and everything going on with that. For them to come in and get Warner Brothers and notably DC, I think it's going to be a lot of rolling up the sleeves with Paramount, and I think that's going to be welcome from a lot of us. So that's just one thing with Paramount. But you raised something interesting with Netflix, and we'll talk about Universal in a moment too. I would say like a year or probably 2 years ago, I think me and you and a lot like us was like, we were very open to Netflix, like, hey, if DC ever becomes available, I think Netflix was an easy favorite for a lot of us. And obviously, with Zach over there, and I thought that would be an easy thing. You're the king of streaming, right? And then you can, at that time I was thinking if you just get DC,
right,
or just Snyderverse,
right, right,
that you could do some big things, just with Netflix. Now, the sentiment you gave, which is I'm seeing more and more, and I feel similar. Like Netflix, what's the motivation? Because you made it clear your business plan was no theaters. Now people take it where they have these, they have a Netflix house in Texas and I think other cities, like 2 or 3 cities, where they do like a premiere of their film, and it's kind of just like a one-day thing. It's not like no one's taking Netflix seriously in theaters because they don't want to be. Is that what you're kind of gathering? Like, I don't think Netflix really would change and just want to be a theatrical company.
No, I don't think so. Here's the sad part, and this could be what it came down to, and it's. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the only movie I ever recall that Netflix promoted to be a theatrical run prior to its, and not even prior. I think the problem there also was, well, you guys did it like a double header type thing, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel it was The Irishman. And as much as I like the film because I like those kinds of films, I don't think that should have been your first swing. To my knowledge, that I remember, that was your first swing at saying, we're going to put this movie out in theater and then, streaming. If I remember correctly, that's what it was.
I think Knives Out, the second Knives Out.
Was it Knives?
They did a little run where they put it out in theaters for, it could have been like a week or something like that. Now, some people will point to during COVID where Army of the Dead was in theaters for like a weekend. But that was during lockdown. They were just trying to, generate something with theaters. But as far as the biggest push, you're right with The Irishman and the second Knives Out. They did like a little press run, but see, that's few and far between right there.
Right, exactly. And the reason I bring this up though, like, well, that the point I was trying to make there is I thought that I remember was probably the hardest thing I push I saw for a theatrical run as far as Irishman, and it just seemed like after that tanked or didn't do what it probably in another time period could have done or would have done. Then it just seems like they took the foot off the gas on that, and they're like, well, since we're the king of streaming, we'll just own streaming, and
which is fine. See, that's the thing. It's like, it's kind of like the thing of staying in your lane, right? Like Netflix.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
You got over 300 million subscribers globally with Netflix and counting. You own that space. Yeah. Maybe just own that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And again, I think this is why I say what I'm saying though when I say, because I saw 2 things out there about Netflix. One is like they were kind of like on a similar boat as Universal, where they just want like a certain part of Warner Brothers. But then I did see somewhere else where it said no, now they're considering the entirety of Warner Brothers, which is really the biggest benefit they could have to expand what they actually have to offer. That's the only thing I could see here. To my original point of like, if your idea is that, and it's because you guys finally want to have a bigger stake in theatrical releases, and I would assume with lesser hassle, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong here. The way I understand it is certain movie companies or not, or entertainment companies, whatever, like Warner Brothers, and I think Warner Brothers actually has a big chunk or a big hold in this, is they have like said contracts with theaters, like that they already have, like, business with, right? So in my mind, if that's how that works and that's what it is, and I know Warner Brothers has a good like a hold on like contracts with theaters, and you're Netflix and you acquire it, that would be your benefit. Now you have an easier access to theatrical releases, which you didn't have initially, which probably was why you were hesitant to do theatrical releases with your movies, because you have good movies, you have good things to offer. Now you have a way to release these great movies you can do and put them out there. But if that's not what we're talking about, then I don't know what we're talking about here. Because and to answer your question, is that the reason why I think I kind of like, because initially, like you said, I think we were all like, Netflix owning DC, that would be the move. Two-part reasons for me. One was I know that they're not at the time when we were discussing this, they weren't big on censorship, and like holding their or withholding, like holding back their directors or the people that they bring on to work on their on their stuff, whatever. They weren't afraid to do, just things that other studios are afraid to do. So at the time, it just seemed like, okay, that was the move, one. And then two, once Zach was there, it was like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Easy.
But then again, it's like, I sit back and realize, man, up until this point, my only enjoyment of the Snyder Cut was unfortunately at home, and I would have loved to have seen that in theaters. Then I thought to that was a thought at one point, when I started thinking about that. Then it's like, okay, well, let me see what they do with Rebel Moon now, because that looks like a big project.
I remember you saying that too before it came out. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So like what I'm saying is consistent here. And when I saw that they didn't give it a theatrical release, what I felt it deserved, that also put it like a bad taste in my mouth, in the sense of like, I don't know if this is actually the people I want acquiring DC, simply because I think DC deserves to be in the theater. Especially when we're talking Zack Snyder's work.
Let's keep it real, right? Like with the handling of Rebel Moon, the release of Rebel Moon, they tried to reverse manufacture some kind of Snyder Cut situation, which I mean, I just gotta keep it real. Like they fumbled that entire approach. Because I always say,
I wouldn't know if they would have known that. I think if they knew what they saw, I think they would have just stuck to the actual original cut, because it was clear that some people didn't like the PG-13 version, and then but once that rated R version came out, they were on board. But some people didn't even give it a chance because
that's the point.
Like the PG-13 version,
right? And if we're going to be now, first off, like all 4 cuts of it, I can easily watch all these 100%. Versions. Even I still like a lot of aspects of the PG cuts.
Yeah.
But when I first saw it, the part 1 Rebel Moon, you could feel like the sanitation. Like you could feel certain scenes. They were just like, nope. I'm just like, and I always say this story when I have a few journalist friends, and they was at the premiere in California for Rebel Moon, because they did give it a red carpet,
Right.
So Netflix tried it, but that was for the press, right?
Yeah.
And in the theater, my journalist friend texted me and said they should have released a Snyder Cut. He was like, and now when I say the journalist people, they all kind of run the same packs. They all have their issues with BVS and things like that. So you had Zack Snyder at his rawest with the R cuts of Rebel Moon. If you watch it right now, you're blown away. It's like, oh, Zack has free reign and he's gonna go this hard with it.
Right.
You had a bunch of journalists ready for that.
Right.
For the R cut, and then they saw the PG cut first and was like, so Now, again, that's how the media works. So now everyone's going to copy each other and say they hate the PG cuts. And, so Netflix fumbled that. Because you had a far superior film you should have just put out first. And then you should have released it all at once. You do the PG and R cut on Netflix and just, let families decide. So,
not that this discussion is even important, I guess, but because it really doesn't matter, I guess, but just out of curiosity, because I think we can agree why we know they did what they did, right? Like they obviously were trying to curate maybe a child audience, a more family friendly audience, as well as
a more broader, audience,
you know what I'm saying? You're right. For the sake, I believe, to sell merchandise, right? Like this whole concept of like, well, if it's a broader audience, meaning kid friendly, and
and it was making the game and things like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Business
wise, right? Which I don't blame him for that, but like you said, in hindsight, now we know, like, well, no, that was kind of also the wrong move. But if you had those aspirations and ambitions, you could have stuck to it. But maybe there was a different way of trying to achieve that, and would it have been maybe stick to this, the Snyder cut, just release that film as is, and then after concern yourselves with the idea of building a more family, not necessarily more family friendly, like maybe like a cartoon version or something, where like now you can bring kids in and sell merch. Does that make sense?
I kind of think the reverse. Like okay, I'm fine, because I remember we had this conversation. You was like, this, again, have the broader audience, PG cut, and more families will watch it. My problem is you released the PG cut, Rebel Moon, I think it was like in December of that year, and then you don't get the R cut to like the end of summer.
So you think they should have been simultaneously released?
I think just closer. Like if you want, Netflix is real big on their, the viewership each month. They put the top 10 out. Do part 1 Rebel Moon, let that run for a month, get your numbers and what you want to post with that, and then drop the R cut then, and be like, this film did this month. Now check the full cut now.
Right.
And it's like you waited like 8 months, 9 months. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
That's the only problem I had with that. But when the R cuts came out, I obviously, I still enjoy it to this day. It just, I was more, it was a bitter feeling for me, because I'm like, this is amazing, and like there was no press really, there was no push really. It's just like, okay, they're out now. Okay, and I was like, man, like this could have been the event.
Yes.
Right here. It was just a little frustrating. Yeah. With how Netflix handled that, and then you kind of hear, I don't know if you're seeing like different people posting about this now that, Netflix may be done with Zack Snyder. Now, I don't believe that, but one thing I do admit is that, Army of the Dead came out, right? I'm not even a zombie film guy, but I was just, it was Snyder, so can't wait, couldn't wait to watch it, right? And
that's right.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. And then you hear it was going to do an animated Las Vegas, Planet of the Dead, and then it's crickets, right? Rebel Moon 1 and 2 comes out. R-rated cuts come out. Zach, on one budget, Zack Snyder, they spent $166 million for Rebel Moon. He gave you 4 movies.
That's right.
And if you, I mentioned this on a different video, but if you accumulate all the views under one budget for Rebel Moon, all 4 versions, you got the top 2 film ever on Netflix, right? Wow. Yeah. Nearly 200 million views, I think, only behind Red Notice, at least at that time it was. So you easily should have been like, okay, make part 3 and 4, like right now.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Crickets, right? And then the final thing, and I want to get your thoughts overall, the LA SWAT film. Yeah. It's been well publicized. Zack Snyder wanted a certain amount of money for that, because again, he has to pay his crew, he has to pay his writers and everything. Right. And Netflix balked at that. And so Zach's like, okay, well, I got funding to do The Last Photograph. He went over there and did that film, and to be announced who that would be released under. He doesn't even have a distributor yet for that film, because Netflix didn't want it. I just feel some kind of way about Netflix right now overall. And I guess what's your thoughts with that? It's just like the relationship with Zack. Again, I don't believe the sensationalized story that they're canceling everything Zack Snyder. But just from the Rebel Moon stuff to now, I'm feeling some kind of way.
No,
Netflix.
you're 100% right. Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I can't agree with that. Like, oh, they're done with Zack. No, that's not it either. I think looking at it, here's the problem. I think if I'm really gonna think about, because one, I agree with everything you just said. Let me just say that I agree with everything. It is off-putting that we were supposed to get an Army of the Dead universe. Never happened. Other than maybe that little branch off.
And Rebel Moon and that cantina.
No. It was like a heist movie with
Army of Thieves.
Army of Thieves. There you go. And which I thought that did good too. It was funny. It was a great film.
Good engagement. The prequel. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I thought there was something there. It looked promising. But then that was it. It's like, okay. Then Rebel Moon comes out. And like you said, yeah, boom, boom, boom. You would think, hey, considering all this like stats that we're seeing, let's keep it running. Nothing. We got the mobile game. I don't know if that's something to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's their expansion as far as again.
And that's the only. The comics, there was comics.
Oh yeah, they had the Nemesis comic.
Yep.
And the Blood Axe comics, and so. Right. And that's why I agree with you when you was like, do the PG cuts first to get a broader audience, then drop these comics, the games, merch.
Right.
That makes sense. But and again, the numbers are there, the engagement they had. So it's
right. But you're right though. You're right though. It should have been a lot closer. And you're right. Maybe that month period should have been it. But in hindsight, like I guess it is what it is. But like then that happens. But like. Then there's nothing else, like there's no talk about the next film. There's no, whatever. And then you use him to do, or I don't know if it was you, or if it was him who but then you get Twilight of the Gods,
Right. That's another one. Yeah.
And it looked like everybody liked it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't see nothing negative about it,
it was great feedback. It was great.
I'll be honest. I think I even seen people that usually hate on Zack Snyder.
Even the haters.
Oh, this is lame. This is what he should be doing. Whatever. And it's like, okay, I guess we'll just succumb one of the greatest directors to just animated.
So that was kind of shade. That was shade from them.
Exactly. So it was like it was a double-handed.
But overall, the feedback, because if you compare it to all feedback with Zack Snyder stuff, if you had like a scale out there of Zack Snyder projects, like most people overall love his 300, Watchmen.
Yeah.
It gets weird when you get to DC.
Yeah.
Just the polarizing people out there. And Army of the Dead mostly had pretty good, but then Rebel Moon, it's like they came out of the woodwork trying to hate Rebel Moon. Like it's to this day. I'm like, man, what are y'all? Yeah. And then you do Twilight of the Gods. Like you said, I didn't see much criticism at all.
I heard
and I thought the viewership was decent.
And no, exactly. I mean, look, I'll be honest. I took a while to watch it. Not because I don't know. You know what? I think I have my own reasons, but not related to Zack. To why I was like, but I'll discuss that maybe further or a little bit after my point here. Is that the thing is when and this could be maybe this. Let's put it like this. The hubris, it could be that the hubris of being the streaming king is the very thing that's holding you guys back, or at the very least what's getting in your way and what you guys are tripping over right now. What do I mean by that? Is that it's obvious that you guys have a lot of content that you guys are constantly releasing. And maybe that's why you guys can't necessarily go back to back on something like an Army of the Dead universe, Rebel Moon universe, because okay, yeah, Zack Snyder has his run, whatever, and it's great, whatever, but then we also have this director that's working on this, and we also have that director, and everybody has to have there's time to shine, the limelight, you know what I'm saying, because we don't want to be unfair or biased, whatever, and I don't know, maybe that could be, is that the reason, you know, we don't see the consistency on the IPs that there should be consistency in. Because like, again, when you're looking at anything that they have had successful, it always takes a long time for the next thing to come about it. You know what I mean? Whether that's like Stranger Things, whether that was you know, something like The Witcher, you know, Extraction, you know, they got a lot of good films, good, you know, kind of things that they build up, but for the next movie, for the next season, it takes such a long turnaround because there's always another IP, another, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, anyway,
this makes me even feel even more uncomfortable with Netflix, because it's like, if you get more access to more IPs, you mentioned Extraction, one of their most successful films ever on Netflix. And like you said, it took several years to get part 2, which did good as well.
Right.
Their business model may not be the best for franchises, right? Like maybe it's more of like a one-shot thing, you know, with these IPs.
Yeah. So that's the thought, and this is why I said, unless your idea is that purchasing this, we now have a foothold into theatrical releases, which should give them room to breathe with the IPs that they'll now have under their belt. But if that's not what you're trying to do here, then what are we talking? Like, then I don't know if you're the house to hold all these things. But
is it, because I think, is it fair? I don't want to assume or speak for you. Is it fair? We're saying with these companies that potentially could buy Warner Brothers, is, you know, who's going to do best? I mean, obviously we want the Snyderverse,
right?
But just DC overall, like, who's going to be the best house for just DC going forward? And DC needs direction, and you do need like a DC Studios thing. Like, I'm with Zaza with that. It's just the people you got running it, you know. But so, and it's like you take this and go over to Netflix. My theory is that, okay, let's say Netflix wins the bid. Let's say they put the money up and they get it.
Yeah.
And they'll just be like, okay, we own this now. Y'all just kind of keep doing what y'all doing, and it'll just kind of be a separate thing. So it's just like, which, you just want more toys, or I don't know what.
Yeah, no. See, that's a good point. That's another good point, right? Because like, if you acquire this, look. Okay, hold on. Let me not be. Well, see, you know, here's the thing. If I'm correct, there was a change in management at Netflix, right?
Yeah, you had Dan Lin that came in. He's head of films. Scott Stuber exited, which was the one that was really pushing the Snyder Armyverse, Rebel Moon. Like, Stuber was right there.
Right.
And then when he decides to exit, Dan Lin comes in, who was interestingly, he was considering a DC job with Warner's before Gunn. He came in with a very frugal approach. They were slashing costs. Stuber was probably overspending, but Stuber was spending some money. Yeah. And so that was the change right there. And it made it change some philosophy. And all of a sudden, they want to give Zack Snyder $100 million to make a LA SWAT film, which I don't think that's a bad number, $100 million.
What is Dan Lin's background?
He's actually, it's funny. He has had some producer. No, that's right. He was going to be a part of DC when Frank Miller was going to do that old Justice League Mortal film.
Okay.
And Dan Lin was going to be a part of that.
Okay.
Then Dan Lin went on and he had his own production company, and he's just, you know, had pieces of, you know, different dramas and things. So he's been a producer for a while. Build up a lot of relationships. So
the reason
he considers DC. Yeah.
The reason to my questioning there, not to cut you off, but the reason I asked that is because now Scott Stuber, on the other hand, even before he went to Netflix, he already had a resume. He worked for, what was it? He worked for another studio, wasn't it?
I want to say Universal.
Universal, right? It was either Universal.
Who did Dawn of the Dead? He was there with Zach.
Right. Right.
For Dawn of the Dead.
Man, I don't know if you want to look that up, but
yeah, I want to say Universal.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But all that to say that it made sense, like, or when I found, like, look, I'll be honest, it's not like I know all these things like that, but the only reason I have that information in my mind is because
it was Universal.
Yeah. It is Universal. Okay.
We were right.
Okay. The reason I had it in mind is because I watched that roundtable discussion with all those like heads of the studios, and he was one of them representing Netflix. But he talks about, it was funny because it seemed like he was the most hated on the table, but because, like, I think you all envy his superb decision making, type of thing, like his success. Yeah. But yeah, that's more deep for those who watch that roundtable. But I say that because if there was somebody like him running Netflix still, like if he was still there, making choices, then I would feel comfortable and be like, okay, no, it makes sense if they acquire Warner Brothers. There's somebody there at Netflix that knows how that world works, and would be able to, do what needs to be done to make sure that side of the business now that they now acquired works correctly.
Compared to Dan Lin guy, he's unproven still to me. Right. Dan Lin,
right? That's right. That's another concern now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, it's the more you think about it, the more you start questioning, like, is this the right house for DC? More so, Zack Snyder's universe. Right. I don't know. Like, granted, like we said, it's not to say that I feel that they are done with Zack. I'm not saying that. It's just
I don't believe that.
They're not proving themselves at this moment to me to be able to run things correctly in the manner that I'd like them to, and then add that to the fact of inexperience to that new acquiring of Warner Brothers, and now I have to think to myself, would they do what you said? Like, okay, we acquired you. You're just now another avenue for finance, but we'll let them still do what they're doing. And that also concerns me because I don't want that either. You know what I mean? I don't need to, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see that. I want to, I'm saying? No, if there's a new acquisition to be made, I hope it's to fundamentally, as far as DC is concerned, change that. And then somebody that can, again, also treat all the other IPs with, the due experience and proper decision making as well.
And again, this isn't like a dumping on Netflix session.
No, it's not. Because I think still when it comes to author freedom, like author, whatever the word is, I still think Netflix is probably the best for that, because they have the less guardrails when it comes to censorship and what they're afraid to show. So I think they're still the best when it comes to that out of the three. But that's it. That's all I would say is
and this is purely going off of just what Netflix has produced. Like we mentioned the Extraction example, where it was 3 years in between. And again, the first Extraction, one of their top 10 ever films on Netflix, like ever. And you take this long to do a sequel, it just feels like I'm worried about franchises with Netflix, and of course we even got to mention Stranger Things. Like, how long has it been? Has it been like 4 years or something?
We're about to get season 5 now, apparently, which is the last season. And but like there's so many years in between. I lost. I
really don't have I don't have the hype for it. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, these aren't even kids anymore. Like like adults and married and stuff now. Like, but they got to go back and play kids. Like, it's just I'm not that interested in this last season. So, and going off of the business journals and what they're saying out there, they're just like, hey, Netflix. We'll see if they're really serious. We'll see. Right. We'll see. It just I'm not sure. But we both mentioned again Paramount. The word out there is they could possibly be the favorite. Right. Comcast Universal was initially the company 4 years ago when Discovery bought Warner Brothers.
I remember that.
That. Yeah, with the late great Mikey Sutton, we did a video that day, May 17th, 2021, because that's my birthday. That's why I remember it. I was working nights, so I got off work that morning, and it's all over the news, as far as like, NBC, MSNBC, business, CNN, everything was like, Discovery bought Warner Brothers, and Zazev is all on the TV talking about all these brands he wants to use. And I'm just like, yo, that same day, like I got home and I was like, okay, we got to do a video, because this is new owners of DC, right?
Right.
AT&T sold it at that time. And so we was ready to fire up the stream. And then we start hearing Zazev's game plan is to actually flip this in a couple of years.
Right.
I'm just like, because he's on TV talking about all this stuff he wants to do with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. And then when Mikey really started hearing more stuff, I was like, we got to run with this. Like, this is what, and at that time it was Comcast. Comcast was, they actually wanted to buy it before Discovery.
That's right.
And so now we fast forward to now, Warner Bros. Is up for sale. Comcast seemed to have been the choice the entire time. Right. But like you pointed out, they aren't going as aggressive as Paramount, it seems. Right. Wanted to buy everything. They wanted to get a piece of it like Netflix is doing. Now, between the two, let's say Zaza, for whatever reason, they don't go with the, I think, obvious better deal with Paramount overall. Them and the shareholders. Like, you probably want to take that deal. But let's just say they don't. Yeah. If it's between Universal and Netflix, I'm definitely more comfortable with Universal being owners of DC over Netflix. It just, if I'm going to compare the two, I think, and also too, people bring up the side where Universal has those theme parks. So you could have those DC theme parks. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Overall, it just, and also they're already a theatrical studio. It's about, gaining more IPs. And with them, just like with Paramount, right, if they get DC, they're going to be more hands-on and be like, okay, like what's working, what's not. Let's, so just between Universal and Netflix, I'll be more comfortable, if Universal comes through. Plus the Christopher Nolan factor, I think people like with that too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point to be made there. Honestly, people forget Universal. Yeah, they got a strong foothold also in as far as the industry is concerned, and they're already experienced in that regard. So I think I can agree with that. On that end of things, I feel comfortable with that. More comfortable with that. It's again, this is where it's like, when it comes to just who has better experience theatrically, or it's just not Netflix. You know what I'm saying? And
unfortunately, right?
Unfortunately, that's right.
That's why I prefaced this. I was like, a few years ago, I think we all would have been on board.
Yeah.
Okay, Netflix gets DC. Let's go.
We're also now in a time where just all these guys have their own streaming platforms now. So like, what?
True.
So like, okay, you're the stream king. Well, now you still have competitors though. Now you know what I'm saying? Like, NBC has Peacock, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah.
So they would use Peacock for their, series that they want to put out, and then with whatever theatrical releases, they can do that now too with Universal, whatever on all that. And then the theme park thing also is a big factor here. I mean, doesn't Universal already have like Harry Potter and stuff in its park?
They have some kind of licensing, with that, and they have business, I think, with Marvel too.
Marvel, though, I was going to say that would be the question there, because I know Universal does the Marvel. They got the Marvel rides, so I don't know what that means there in that regard. Does that now change?
Would it be a separate thing, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so who knows? But again, that's in the case scenario where somehow Paramount is overlooked here, which is, I don't know why they would do that. I did see somewhere, I was trying to look for it now, where that apparently there was initially an interest to split Warner Brothers. And I'm trying to see where I saw that, but I guess when I read that, I was like, okay, well, I guess that means that okay, here we go. At the same time, it says WBD is in the process of splitting into two entities: Warner Brothers, which would retain the film studio and streaming assets, which seems to be what Universal wants to acquire. And then there's going to be, and then Discovery Global, which will house the pay TV networks, potentially allowing for parts of the company to be sold separately. Can you explain that? Because I was kind of confused with that.
Yeah, because that was the plan that Zaza was talking about probably a couple months ago. Once, because when Discovery first bought Warner Brothers, there was like a I don't want to say like embargo period, but they wouldn't have been able to resell Warner Brothers after a certain amount of years, right? Okay. So once they hit that year mark, I think it was last year they hit that mark, and then it was like, okay, Warner Brothers can be sold again. But then Zazev and the board, they was like, okay, we're trying to dig out of the debt. We're not going to sell initially, because I don't know if you remember, like over a year ago, everyone's like, okay, Warner Brothers can be sold again. Are they going to sell? Are they going to sell?
Right. I remember.
Comcast actually took a look at the entire company over a year ago and was like, because we don't want those cable channels. And then that's when Warner Brothers lost the NBA rights. Like all this stuff was happening.
Right.
And so they was like, okay, let's to maximize our profits, let's see our value first before we try to sell. Right. So we're going to split the company. Now, before James Gunn made the Superman film, it was a real possibility. If Superman did less than Black Adam, they would have considered separating DC to see how much that would have been valued. They feel Superman did good enough, so they're keeping that together right now. So the split is the studios and streaming, which is your Warner Brothers Films, New Line Cinema, DC Studios, and their gaming, HBO Max, all that stuff. They feel that's all profitable. Right. And let's take away the stuff we feel is bogging us down, cable channels, and throw Discovery over there. And so that was the split to basically just see how much is this worth, and then we could look to selling it, right? Because that's after Comcast turned them down. Comcast like, we ain't buying all this, man. We don't want all that baggage. And so that was the plan for next year, next spring. Zazev announced it. We're going to split the company this way. And, again, it's talking about looking at the value. Paramount's the wild card because they just jumped up and was like, you ain't even got to split it. Like, we'll just buy all this. Yeah. Now, why did they jump up? Because the new Paramount just got purchased, I think it was early this year, by Skydance, right? Skydance, they're behind producers for Mission Impossible, Top Gun Maverick. They do big things with that. Yeah, they definitely do. They come in, they absorb Paramount. That finally went through the regulatory deal, and they closed. As soon as they closed, Paramount's like, okay, Warner Bros., we want to look at you now. And so that's why this all has come up now, because what was going to happen was they're just going to split, see what happens next year, and still the possibility would have been to separate DC. Yeah, I remember telling some of my live viewers, I was like, I'm ready to buy some DC stock. Like, if they separate DC, I'm gonna buy a bunch of DC. Like, same. If we all jump in, we could probably force the Snyderverse right there. DC. So Paramount's the wild card. That's why we even talking about all this sales stuff, because it was just about the split. Right, is what Zaza was going to do. So this kind of just accelerated the timeline now with Paramount. Okay, so that makes more sense. Okay. Now that I have an understanding of that, it's safe to say that technically, whether it's Netflix or Universal, that's still probably, I guess, regardless of what Paramount's offering, I guess at least they're willing to actually stick to the original game plan, I guess, whatever. But I do find it kind of funny if they didn't just go with Paramount, because again, I mean, shit, if I could just, hey. Here you go. Now, a side of that too, a part of that deal is Paramount made sure it got leaked out there. Like, you got the new head, David Ellison, on the right there. Yeah. He comes from a very, very wealthy family. that's the whole background story there. So money ain't a thing, right? with him, but he made sure it was leaked out there. There's been a lot of leaks with this deal, the potential deal. That if they were to buy Warner Brothers, first off, they would treat it like a merge. He would still, be over everything. Right. But he would say, Zaza, you could be co-chairman. So if you sell with us, you don't even got to do nothing. I'm going to be in charge, right? But you're going to be co-chairman, and you can just kind of still stay in Hollywood here. They're going to look at, again, they're fine with Warner Brothers Pictures overall. DeLuca and Abdi has had one of the greatest years of film for Warner Brothers ever. You know, Sinners, Minecraft, all the stuff they did, Weapons, Conjuring, they across the board.
Yeah, they got W's across the board.
All genres, right? They hit with that. So you don't expect him to come in if Paramount buys and say, "Oh, Warner Bros. Pictures, like, let's pull out the sheets and let's see what y'all did." No, they did over. I think the number is $4 billion.
No, they did
for the year.
Right.
Amazing. So we're not going to touch that. DC though. Now Man of Tomorrow has to land, so he's going to come in there, and like I said, and say, Zaz, if you could stay, DeLuca Abdi, you could stay. We do kind of look at what you're doing over here with DC, HBO Max.
Right.
And so that's a sweet deal for Zaz, if it's the point I'm making with that, and for DeLuca and Abdi, because they already got their extensions, right? They already extended their contracts.
That's right.
So he's more like, this is going to be a partnership. Now I'm it'll be 51-49, but it's a partnership.
Right,
and that's a sweet deal for Zaza. Now Comcast, as far as what's been out there, head of Comcast, Brian Roberts, he kind of balks at this merger idea. Actually, he kind of doesn't want to treat this like a partnership, but he may sweeten to that if you can get all these IP from Warner Bros., like we mentioned, it's not just DC. You get a piece of the MonsterVerse. You get Mortal Kombat, Matrix, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. These are $1 billion franchises, right? Billions. Right. So that's why Comcast, Brian Roberts, the head, he may just be like, let me kind of concede a little bit because I can get these IPs. Yeah. Once in a generation opportunity. So that's just a long way of saying is that Paramount is trying to sweeten the offer as best as possible and say, hey, as long as you're doing good, we're not going to flip any tables here. You know what I'm saying? whatever section, and that puts the spotlight back on DC again, because it's like I heard this directly over this past weekend that let's say Paramount gets it, they're taking DC very seriously. I know there's been chatter saying if Paramount buys this, James Gunn is fired on the spot. That's not true. That's not. That's not
we
true.
Don't know that.
But because I saw people was passing these articles around. I was like, no, that's not. I understand though. I understand why people feel that way, right? Like that's usually when I do the drop.
I hate James Gunn.
They're like he's fired. Go Paramount, right? But I was told though, and even if Comcast, I'm not sure about Netflix plans. I'm just gonna be honest with people. I don't know what they're doing, but if Comcast or Paramount gets Warner Brothers, DC, they are really looking at like, DC, we have to expand this.
Right.
That's why you're getting the Superman saga right now. You're getting Man of Tomorrow. And then from there, we need bigger films. So Gunn will have a chance. Man of Tomorrow, he better ramp that up like crazy. Put Batman in there or something. Because if Paramount or Comcast comes in there, they're going to be like, hey, you did $600 million, right, with James Gunn Superman. Technically that's less than Man of Steel, right? Right. Supergirl, we'll see what they do. But Man of Tomorrow, if you do more of the same, you're doing 600 million, 700 million. It's like, what are we doing here? Yeah. So that's going to put the spotlight on James Gunn if Paramount or Comcast gets this.
Where's this is a sad question a little bit, but where's the Henry Cavill's
the Warhammer? That's with Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the moment that was like, if he's a Paramount with that, and but okay, it's Amazon. All right.
So, because the word was out there that Amazon had interest, but they're running into kind of the I won't say the full Netflix problem, but just that Amazon is like they have MGM, which has James Bond, and they're really working on. But Amazon likes the theater because when they got MGM, they said, okay, we're going to use the theaters, like the Ben Affleck film Air. Put that out there for like 45 days.
Yeah.
And then now you can watch it exclusively on Prime.
Right.
And so that's their new business model. When Voltron comes out with Henry Cavill, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to put it out there and give it a nice theatrical run.
Right.
And then you only can watch it on Prime. So I was like, oh man, I was like, if they get DC,
man, that's
people.
Amazon was one of the ones that I was actually rooting for a while there, because I was like, it seems like they got the right formula for that.
When Amazon got DC film, started licensing some DC films, from Warner Brothers, they made sure they got the Ultimate Edition of BVS.
That's
right.
Right.
So I was like, oh man. So I heard interest was out there. The first round of bids on Warner Brothers was a couple of days ago, and Amazon didn't show up. I was like, dang. I was like, I wish they would have, but I just think they're like, how can we really juggle all this realistically? Too, a play here next month, Zaslav could come out and be like, we're not going to sell yet, and then do the split. Then maybe Amazon be like, okay, now this is kind of cleanly split. That's my dark horse. I was really hoping Amazon, because like you said, the Henry Cavill connection, Ben Affleck with artist equity.
Yeah,
you're getting the. I'm just gonna say, like, if Amazon would have jumped in here and get DC, you're getting the Batfleck film.
Yeah,
there's no doubt in my mind.
Right, that's what
you would get that. So
yeah,
it remains to be seen. That's why it's like we're all looking forward to a sale, but there is an option. Next month, Zaps could be like, we're gonna wait.
Right.
Do our split, and then we do all this again next spring. If IG was currency, what Zack Snyder dropped out there.
There's no need to regulate. Free speech is always the better way. The truth will never discriminate. Free thinking has built us all a better place. Better place where we can all conversate. I mean, converse. Don't make this shit worse. Just try to appreciate. After this verse, so take us to church. Let knowledge disperse. Ideas then culminate. Turn into action. Speak words with reason and passion. Honestly spoken, no need for retraction. Keep on demanding your full satisfaction. We made it happen, though we collapsed and broken in fractions. All of these factions overreact and broken in fraction. If I played a part, then I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Let me give you more reasons to follow the homie Sil for the latest news, scoops, and moves he's about to reveal. From coffee talks to special brews, I'm out of burgers for meals. A cup of bourbon with that tea that's about to get spilled. Like, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in. We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. Take out your pen and paper, sit down and take notes. Sil is the realest among imposters, scavenging cutthroats. So, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in. We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show. Let's go. Between DC and Marvel, they both have a startle. Disney's moving finicky, let's not mention Star Wars. All these movie execs be drunk off that power, disconnected from the fans in the ivory towers. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in. We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. When they keep making the same mistake, that's what you call insanity. They can't even acknowledge their self-inflicted calamity. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in. We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. Scoop Senator, coffee talks, also covering analytics, making his own reviews, cause it's always been the critics. They clout chasers, money driven, repeating the latest gimmick. Come over to Syl Nation where true vision is given. Listen, what's the latest word? Yo, Syl, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Syl, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. Let's not forget Mikey's son, always special to the crew from day one when him and Syl got together for special brew. What's the latest word? Yo, Syl, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Syl, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. I guess I finish on this note. When the niggas go flip mode, they turn gremlins, I'm gizmo. Come from my people, my kinfolk. For them I ride for and kill for. With this pistol I'm skillful. Shit can really escalate till it all goes abysmal. What's the latest word? Yo, Syl, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Syl, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. I'm a watchman, forever vigilant, steady watching and listening, disciplined, militant, killing these dudes that started visiting. What's the latest word? Yo, Syl, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Syl, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show. Let's go.
It's Coffee Talk with sylabdul. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe now.
Wake up in the morning, eyes crusty, heavy yawning. My phone keep going off, so I shut off the alarm and then head into the kitchen to get the coffee brewing. French roast with French vanilla, my own French revolution. Next movement is to tune into Coffee Talk with Syl. My girl starts to yap if I tell her she needs to chill. I hear enough of the yapping from all of these goofy shills. Plus I'm trying to be informed of whatever's the latest deal. For real. There's no need to regulate. Free speech is always the better way. The truth will never discriminate. Free thinking has built us all a better place. Better place where we can all conversate. I mean converse, don't make this shit worse. Just try to appreciate after this verse. So take us to church, let knowledge disperse. Ideas then culminate, turn into action. Speak words with reason and passion. Honestly spoken, no need for retraction. Keep on demanding your full satisfaction. We made it happen, though we collapsed and broken in fractions. All of these factions overreact and broken in fraction. If I played a part, then I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Sylabdul ink to speak true as he bring the news. Coffee talk, stay brew, kick back, get real comfortable. Here to stay, no on delay, make sure I be's informed. On the road, on the go, playing ball on that pavement floor. It's a lifestyle right now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Guaranteed all week's going to always be on time. That's my word y'all heard from Il Divino Vega's mouth. What's that worth much more than what these networks talk about? I am a FIFA caffeine. Coffee gotta have some cream. Fetch a hazel be for me while I listen to these kings. Syl Mikey be the team. Subscribe to Sylabdul Inc. Wiki City magazine. Tell me what's behind the scenes, the other side of the ravine. Is it obscene or is it obscure? I am not sure. But the rich is the rich off the poor. That ain't no doubt to my core. We just keep asking for more. They keep supplying, demand in the store. As long as it makes it to shore, I know for sure. They'll just keep on making more. Well, almost treasure that piece now have been transformed into corporate Hollywood's whore.